Greetings folks, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be attempting to pick this lock that's been in my naughty bucket for quite some time now, possibly a few years. I don't actually remember where this lock came from, but it turned up in some trade or other. It is an Imperial lock. Imperial are, I believe, the only existing lock manufacturer in the UK who actually make their locks in Britain, which is really cool. I've bought a few things from them before, but I generally don't buy their cylinders because physically they're not very good. There's no snap protection or anything. Certainly last time I researched them there was nothing along those lines. We also have some sort of rating here, grade 3 EN1303. Now, although this lock isn't very physically secure, the mechanism inside it, I don't know what they've put in this lock. I think it's just a coincidence that this one is incredibly difficult to pick, although it works perfectly smoothly. So, without further ado, I'm just going to attempt to pick this lock because I'll need all the time I can get. Taking a look at the key, we can see that right at the back we have a slightly higher cut pin 5 and a slightly longer pin in chamber 4, which means that we just have to brush that last pin there in order to set it, and then the ones at the front are should be fairly easy to pick, although there does seem to be a very fine line between setting the pins and oversetting the pins, and these are spool pins as well, so I'll be very interested to see what kind of pins are in this lock. Right, so let me just get into position. I'm going to go in with a fairly deep hook and brush pin 5. Okay, I just heard a little click there, but I'm not getting any false sets. I'm just going to scrub the first pins. Just going to scrub here just to see if I can get a full set. I'm getting a good click out of pin 5, but oh, there we go. We've popped into a little bit of a false set. Let me just reposition just a bit. I'm focusing more on picking the lock than the camera skills here. Now you see I've popped out of the false set there, so I just need to ease off tension a hair, and that's us back to where we were before. So there's a lot of this setting pins and dropping them again, and sometimes you can actually drop a pin that's been overset to the shear line, so we'll just see. I might be here a while though. Oh, or maybe not. Alright. Like I said, very fine line between setting a pin and oversetting a pin. I found that I use this windshield wiper insert just bent over at the end to tension from top of the keyway, and although this gives brilliant control clockwise, counterclockwise it just slips out. So sometimes what I have to do, so if I back out a bit here, I can sometimes I can put this larger tension wrench in, and if I can get around the camera like this, I can kind of control tension in the other direction as well, so I've got full control on the core. But I didn't actually need to do that today, which is brilliant, because I think that other technique I showed you would be incredibly difficult to do around the camera. So I'm going to grab my pinning tools and cutting tools, I suppose, and hopefully have a look at what's in this lock at long last. It's been bothering me for quite some time, and I'll be glad to pass this on to some other unlucky person. like I said, I think I'm sure I've watched other people picking these locks. It doesn't seem to take them very long, as far as I remember, and I think it's just a case of me getting a really unusually difficult lock to pick. Sometimes there are just annoying locks like that that will hold you back. So that's it. Nothing too unusual there. There's pin 1 there is slightly below the shear line, but it doesn't seem to have affected the operation. Now I'm dumping out the pins because somebody actually commented on another video asking why I didn't look at the other pins, the key pins. I left them in the core. If I ever do that, it's because the key pins are standard, and in most locks this is the case. It's only challenge locks usually where the key pins are a little bit unusual. You can see that we do have some really long pins at the back there. So let's take a look at what we have in here. This is where all the magic will be. So pin 1 is quite a long spool actually. 2 is another spool. 3 is a spool. 4 is a standard. And 5 is another standard. Okay. So this isn't at all different from what I expected. I just want you to note these pins right here. Supposing I hadn't dropped it. I want you to take a look when the camera focuses at the end of the pin. That's slightly better. At the end of the pin, notice how it's very, very sharp, whereas some pins, they'll actually round the ends a bit, and the reason they round them is to make the locks operate very smoothly. It means that they don't have to have such good tolerances, but the reason this lock is so difficult to pick is because the pins are so sharp that you have to get, there's a very, very fine line between setting that pin and oversetting that pin, because the pins sit pretty flat against each other, and there are no beveled edges on these pins that will help you get the pin to the shear line. So, not a particularly interesting Imperial lock, but I'm just glad to have picked it and to get it out of my naughty bucket, because it has been bothering me for some time, and yes, whoever sent this, I would be interested to know. I'm sure they probably have long since forgotten about this lock. But anyway, a big thank you for watching this video, and as always, please do leave a like or a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions.